I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 233. If you don't already know, I'm Cap Chardello, coming to you on Wednesday, June 17th, and we've already got more commits to talk about. Texas State's 2027 recruiting class continues to grow, up to 15 now after 3 more commitments went down since the last episode, including now the second highest ranked player in this class, according to 247 Sports. Some good players coming on in. I can't wait to talk about them. We're also going to get to talk to my good buddy John Beck, returning to the pod after a long hiatus. He's been a long-time listener, always tuning into anything I'm working on. He's one of my closest confidants, closest Bobcat confidants specifically. I can't wait for you to hear this convo. We cover a lot. We start with baseball, we go to football, we talk Pac-12, Sorsby. We cover a lot. It's a pretty interesting convo. Excited for you to hear that one. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by TGC LLC, thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, thegalindocollective.com. A team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, thegalindocollective.com. And follow their social media platforms on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at TGC_LLC, and on Instagram and Facebook at The Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. This is the 4th season TGC LLC has been partnered up with Win Now or Get Bent. Can't thank them enough. Again, go check them out. TheGalindoCollective.com, Galindo, TheGalindoCollective.com. All right, let's get to these Bobcats. 3 more commitments, like I said, for Texas State's 2027 recruiting class. We'll go through it pretty quick because John Beck and I talk for a good while. We talk a little bit of Texas State recruiting, and we cross the whole gamut of Texas State Bobcats. But the 3 more commitments for the Bobcats. The first one that went down, I mentioned it was the second highest rated recruit in this class now. That is Winsboro athlete linebacker Nareeg Castleberry. He's a 3-star himself. He's a running back at Winsboro, so he's listed as a running back, but he is actually a linebacker coming to Texas State at linebacker. I watched his huddle video. I was hoping to see some defensive highlights, but really it's just on the offensive side of the ball. 6'2", 220-pound running back in high school, and man, he is really just, I'm bigger than you, so I'm going to the end zone the whole time. Stiff arms and running through guys, and I could kind of see why they look at him and they scout him more on the defensive side of the ball as a running back. He's obviously a power back, powerful runner himself. He offers a big thump, but not really like the prototype running back that you see out there. But it definitely works in high school. I can remember when I was in high school, I went to Keller High School and we played against Grapevine High School, and they had somebody named Henry Melton. If anybody remembers that name. He was a defensive lineman for UT and in the NFL for a while. He was a running back in high school, though, at Grapevine. That was quite a task to try and take that big guy down at 6'4", 230 pounds. So 250 pounds, actually. He was huge, Henry Melton, at running back. We did a lot of gang tackle practicing during that week leading into that game. So I can kind of see why they're looking at him and switching him. But honestly, a big back like that is kind of what that room is missing. So, I'm quietly hoping maybe they can get him some touches, put him on that side of the ball a little bit. Because looking at his stats, he only played 7 games last season, his junior year. That's why he didn't have a very long huddle tape because I'm not sure of injuries or what have you. But he, in those 7 games, 1,176 yards on 106 carries. That's 11 yards per carry. It's a first down every time he touched the ball. And 17 touchdowns in those 7 games. So pretty impressive stuff at the running back position. Pretty fun huddle tape as well to check out. I mean, I don't mean to make it sound like he's all ground and pound out there. He had some bursts for sure. There was a time where the hole opened up between the tackles, and this guy took off for like a 75-yard untouched to the end zone. So, I mean, he has the speed for sure. Very interesting prospect. Let's look at some of his offers, though, real quick. I know I was just looking at that not too long ago. He has some real deal offers from Arizona State, Iowa State, Maryland, Mississippi State, Texas Tech, North Texas, UTSA, Air Force, Navy. A lot of offers for Nareed Castleberry. Love that name, too, Nareed Castleberry. That just sounds like a name that you hear spoken over the PA often on a Saturday afternoon. Nareed Castleberry, though, yeah, at 87, he's now the highest rated recruit. He is behind Dalen Gordon, the running back out of Wiley, who's the 4-star. They have a few 87s. Let me see if I can pull up the class, because I have it right here. They also have Bryson Phoenix, who we talked about last episode, the edge rusher out of Louisiana, Alexandria, Louisiana. Brian Manuel Jr., the receiver out of Humble out of Scotia, actually, not Humble. Is a wide receiver. Isaiah Reed as well, 87 rating. He's a linebacker out of Hampshire Finette. So they have some really high-rated 3-star prospects that have committed to this class. And Nuri has the highest rating of those 380 or those 487 ratings for Texas State. They also got a commitment, the Bobcats did, from Columbia offensive lineman Michael Keene. Big guy, listed at 6'6.5", 330 pounds. No reported offers, but they had some teams on his tail. He was planning on attending some camps coming up, but he hadn't reported his offers and doesn't have any offers on 247 Sports. I believe they had some interest listed for him from like Baylor, I believe. Yeah, Baylor and Colorado had showed him some interest, but no formal offers. A lot of times these guys, they just don't put out every single offer that they receive. So imagine a guy at his size who's been going around to camps and they take a look at that and want to bring him in, at least sharpen his tools if he's a developmental project. But a big guy, added offensive line, second offensive lineman commitment, along with Duncanville offensive lineman Aiden Williams, the 3-star. We talked about him on the last episode. I imagine they want to add some more offensive linemen. This is something that they've liked to do with these high school recruiting classes, is get these young guys and build them up over a couple years. We've seen that from Jordan Shoemaker, the offensive line coach at Texas State. So I imagine they're still looking at some offensive line. Right now, the most focus is going on the defensive line, really. Defensive line, defensive backfield have seemed to get the most commitment so far. They have another one from Marshall defensive tackle Baron Williams. This is another player, just like Keene, the offensive lineman we just talked about, doesn't have a rating on 247 Sports. It seems like this was his first FBS offer as well, unless I'm mistaken, because it did seem like that he had been reporting his offers on Twitter. And when I was scrolling, this was his first FBS offer. He reported offers from Northwestern State, Hampton, and East Central. He was definitely on SMU and UTEP's radar, though. They're bringing him in for junior day and camps and things like that. So they were kicking the tires on him. Seems like the Bobcats decided to get that offer in before anybody else got a look. And Baron Williams decided, I'm just going to go ahead and commit right away. It's always nice when they make it easy on the coaches. Like, all right, great. You know, he's got to hold on to the commit. All these guys, all 15 players that are committed, obviously they're not officially Bobcats yet. They have to wait till December to officially sign on the dotted line and become Bobcats. But 15 right now on June 17th, and we're talking about 15 high school prospects. What's their rating now nationally? I remember last week it was 60, but, you know, recruiting is very fluid, so I'm sure that changes somewhat. National ranking 64th. Best recruiting class for Texas State right now on 247 Sports. Very fluid. That's going to go up and down. It could even change by the time I load this episode. But last year on 247 Sports, Texas State finished 76th, and that was a pretty good class. It was one of the best classes that Texas State has ever had. May have been the best, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't want to misspeak, but I feel like that was the case. This class right now is gearing up to be the best high school class the Bobcats have ever had. I mean, these guys are terrific. Even the guys who don't have ratings, like I was just saying, two of the guys today, Michael Keene, Baron Williams, they don't have ratings, but you look at them. I mean, even Baron Williams, I don't know if I even mentioned it, 6'1", 330 pounds at defensive tackle. You love that. We've talked about it. Love a run stuffer. Love a guy who can fill the gap. That's what you need in the middle of the defensive line, and that's definitely a guy who has that size where he can eat up a lot of space, and that's what you love to see, especially on the defensive line. But yeah, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys without ratings on 247 Sports. And you know, I'm sure they will be rated. I mentioned it on the last episode. it's such a vast job that 247 Sports has, giving a rating and for every single high school prospect around the country. It's a whole lot of players. But yeah, we'll keep that pretty brief because I want to get to JB. We had a great convo. Been too long. It was funny. We started talking. I was like, "What's it been like a year or two since you've been on?" And it seems like it's been more like 4, long time ago. I don't even know if we were doing video the last time we had JB on. I realized that after the interview, I didn't even mention the hats. We're both wearing the same hat. He did that on purpose, knowing I would wear this one. We know the guys at bhihats.com, the who's selling them. It's a good buddy of ours. So that was pretty funny that he showed up in that hat. Great convo. One of my favorite Bobcats, a true blue Texas State sicko. He was KTSW sports director when he went to school at Texas State. He and I have been DMing for a long time, probably 10 years at this point, maybe more. Really, just every day I feel like I'm talking to him, talking about something pertaining to the Bobcats. Always chatting with this guy, and he is as tuned in to Texas State baseball as anybody I know. Former baseball player himself, and I really wanted to get his take on baseball because it was when I bring up College Station. That's where he and I we got together first time in a couple years, really, since we've both been having kids. And he was at that game, so I met him out in his seats during the eighth and ninth inning of that game just to catch up with him. And I mean, we're far away. We're all the way in right field. They had some bleachers out there. He's obviously a few beers deep, and he's still sitting there and as the calling strikes and balls, and he's right on. He's calling it before the ump calls it. I'm like, man, this guy, even from this far away, this late at night, it's dark, all the circumstances, and he's able to sit there and call the balls and strikes. I was just very impressed. I was like, guy knows ball. I've always known this about him. I was like, got to bring you back on the pod. So it's good to get him back on. My good buddy JB, we're gonna bring him back. As you can tell, he's great on the mic. So we're gonna make sure to feature him a little bit more. But all right, let's get to it. Here's John Beck. Our next guest is a very good friend of mine, a Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad, a former guest on this pod before. It's been a while, though. Been a couple years, 3 years. It's been a minute. I meant to look up what episode you were on before this one, but he's back. It's my guy, John Beck. John, how's it going, man? How you doing tonight?
Doing good, Kev. Thanks again for having me on here. And I actually looked back like a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this, trying to get this together. And I think it was back in like 2021. I was only a dad of one at that point, hadn't even had our second kid yet. I'm not sure if you were even a father maybe at that point. I think maybe we were talking about stuff leading up to the birth of your first child. But yeah, now we're both dads of two, and a lot has changed in the last I think 5 years or whatever it was.
Wow, it's been that. I guess it has been
Yeah.
a while. That's the thing is you have kids and time just evaporates, and especially when it's like trying to coordinate two guys with young kids to do a pod. I mean, even right now we're doing it after bedtime for the kids. So I mean,
Yep.
it has changed a lot. But I also should have mentioned KTSW, right? When you were at
Oh
Texas
yeah.
State. And
Yeah.
that booming voice, of course, people can probably tell you used to do radio, but yeah, you were a media guy when you were in school too.
Yep. KTSW sports director. Right before I graduated, did baseball, softball, all the sports except the ones that, of course, Bill Culhane was on basketball and stuff like that. So, but mainly baseball, softball, and then run the boards, of course, whenever we needed to during football games. So,
Yeah,
KTSW alum right here. Absolutely loud and proud.
I guess I hadn't realized that you were not just the director. I knew that part, but that you did play by play and everything too. You weren't just like
Yeah.
on the radio. You were calling games.
Yep.
Was that kind
Sure
of like
did.
something you were growing up and you're like, oh man, I want to be like these guys, or what got you into that?
So actually, that started back home in LaGrange at our local radio station. I'm really good friends. Our family friend is the owner of the radio station and a really good friend of my dad. Knew me my whole life growing up, and he just had the idea one day to set me with a headset and go do our alumni baseball game. And they had me call that, and then it expanded to high school basketball games. And then when I got to Texas State, I was kind of in between because I was originally like a poli sci major, thinking I was going to go the politics route because both my parents were involved in politics. And they put the headset on me. I'm like, nah, I figured out what I'm going to do. And when I got to Texas State, did the hooked up immediately with KTSW, thanks to Weston Warner, shout out. And it was like my life there for probably a little over a decade. And then met a wonderful girl, decided I wanted to get married, and I knew that being a broadcaster wouldn't pay the bills. So made a career change and been in sales for the last decade. So
Tough in that media game. Trust me, I know it.
yeah.
It's cool. We'll scratch that itch on this pod for you more often. We'll get you back on more frequently. Well, that was a lot of talk about one Bobcat. Let's talk about the Bobcats all together. Specifically baseball, because that's when I last ran into you, was the College Station Regional. You're out in Houston area, so it wasn't too far of a drive for you. I was out there covering them, and we got to witness that Chase Mora home run together.
Yeah.
That was pretty sweet against USC. That was the lone win in that College Station Regional, but overall a pretty nice season for Texas State. I mean, it was a little up and down there towards the middle, and it was that strong finish, and they propelled themselves into the regional. I mean, I know you're a baseball guy. You're a former baseball player yourself. Like, how were you feeling about this season's performance and everything with Texas State this season?
Well, I mean, it's easy to have detractors when you're losing, right? But it kind of gets lost in the weeds that they had, I think, at least two stretches of 6 wins in a row, kind of right there, like towards the beginning of the season, right before conference play, and even a little bit into conference play, and then towards the end of the year, where they built a lot of momentum going into the postseason, heading into the conference tournament, and then obviously getting the regional bid, which was a surprise to all of us, maybe except to the guys there in the dugout, but. What a run. I mean, obviously, like we said, there were some ups and downs, like kind of what we've seen with this tenure so far. A nice hot start usually, and then once you get into conference play, it kind of slows down. You have some injuries here and there that'll affect things. Lost a guy that's probably going to be your Friday starter next year in Nolan Smith, I think, especially with the departure of Wade Cooper. And according to the rumblings, I think he's actually going to be in College Station next year. So at least what I've seen so far on the Twitter sphere and elsewhere. I know he was visiting there today, actually. But yeah, I mean, you've got some guys coming back that are huge. Somebody actually had a tweet about it, not naming names, but they said retention would be key this year for San Marcos in the offseason. And I think we've got a good core of young guys coming back, which would have been huge. Of course, you lose Cooper and some other guys, but I think the additions so far that we've seen, as far as the commitments, you've got some arms coming in, which is going to be huge next year for this team, especially if they actually click. Because I think that's kind of what's been lacking the last few years to really put this team over the top.
Yeah, pitching. That's what it felt like this season as well. And they've done a good job picking up some guys. You just sent me one. I can't think of his name, that 6'7" pitcher. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited to see that big guy on the mound. But Texas State, there are a lot of players in the portal. Is that something that concerns you at all when you see some of these players that they kept some of their core guys, but we have some other players that are out. Is that a concern for you going into the Pac-12 for the Bobcats?
I mean, no offense to those players that jumped in. I mean, obviously, you got to do what you got to do in order to get playing time. I know a few of those guys were actually contributors on last year's team that really didn't see the field much this year. So, respect to them to like fight for their position and like go out there and do what they need to do in order to get playing time and advance their careers. That's cool with me. Other than Cooper, though, I think that's probably the biggest contributor that we'll miss. But it's tough. It's tough to see because like we don't know what's coming in. Obviously, you've had some guys that had some great freshman years, but can they follow it up with a good sophomore season, or will they hit what they call the sophomore wall or sophomore slump? And we kind of don't hear about them much. I know Chase Mora was a huge prospect coming in, or had a huge freshman year, and then he probably would admit himself that he hasn't really lived up to the hype since his freshman year. I mean, had his moments here and there, obviously within the regional, but and you're going to lose him. You got to think about the leadership you're going to lose on that side too. Not even just to the transfer portal. You're going to lose Chase Mora. You're going to lose Rashawn Galloway. Some other seniors that are moving on. So it's going to be definitely more of I think a reload type situation, not necessarily a rebuild. And we're just kind of trying to see what happens with the hitting coach, which I think they made an announcement, or not made an announcement, but rumors are coming from D1 baseball about who is going to fill that role since Danny David Linehan went on to TCU, and we'll see how his game translates, and like I said, what kind of additions they can make. And they've got a pretty good class coming in too, from what I remember of the signing day earlier in the year, and some guys that are contributing on at least state finalist teams, which is huge. Always when you get that kind of pedigree in. So we'll see what those guys do and what Trout can add as far as the transfer portal as well.
Yeah, and coming into the Pac-12, obviously the Sun Belt, 5 teams qualified for a regional coming out of the Sun Belt. Pretty impressive for a mid-major conference in baseball. Heading into the Pac-12, I feel like there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about football and then basketball with Gonzaga and San Diego State, some really good teams in there. That it's going to be those are going to be the 2 heavy hitter sports in this conference. But I look at baseball and I feel like it could be a sneaky good baseball conference. It's gonna take some real good play from some of these teams that are at the near the bottom, but like Texas State, Oregon State, I mean DBU even they're gonna be in the mix for baseball. How do you feel about the Pac-12 as far as baseball is concerned? Because I know you're a big baseball guy. I know you're really into football as well, but I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I know there's obviously the Sun Belt Conference. I would argue is probably the best mid-major, non-autonomous, whatever the designation is they use these days, as far as the differencing in the conferences. But I think the Pac-12 has the potential to be maybe not as strong, but I think slightly like a 1A 1B type situation, because like you mentioned, you've got Gonzaga, who was a tournament team not that long ago. You've got Fresno State, who has a national championship under their belt. You've got DBU coming in, who's always been a perennial like a participant in the regional, at least in recent history. Of course, you have us. Washington State was just in the regional. Oregon State, national pedigree there. And I think you might see a little more. I think you might see a little more parity in the like top to bottom. I think it might ultimately be a stronger baseball conference than the Sun Belt.
Wow, how about that? It feels like when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I feel like people are underestimating how good baseball is going to be in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I am excited overall for the move to the Pac-12. I feel like it's like 90% people are excited. 10% still don't love the idea of having to go to the West Coast. As far as like Texas State fans, I'm talking about, they're still not super excited about that whole prospect and travel costs. I hear that brought up a lot, travel costs from people who aren't that into it. But I just think that what it's going to do for putting Texas State on just a different side of the map of the United States that they haven't been on is going to be huge. And I mean, not just in football and basketball, but baseball as well. And just how much Texas State is growing and moving to the Pac-12 and adding sports like women's gymnastics and things. It's pretty exciting what's going on. So I can't wait to see some Pac-12 baseball here in the future. We're gonna have football coming up before that though. July 1st, it'll be the official day that the Pac-12 begins, the Pac-12 conference, the inaugural day. And this will be the first season for Texas State going into the Pac-12. I love the schedule, non-conference slate, all in the state of Texas. How are you feeling about it as a Texas State, as one of the truest sickos I know out there? I mean, you are as tuned in as it gets as anybody for Texas State. You have a burner out there that I'm sure most people here, if you're on the Twitter streets, X, whatever you want to call it, you've seen his burner. We won't out it, but he's definitely heavy on these Twitter streets, sending me DMs and stuff. So how are you feeling about this whole deal, this Pac-12 move and what it means for the Bobcats?
I mean, till the whole world knows our name, right? I think this move is such. I mean, I was skeptical of it at first, and I still have some reservations about it, especially don't since we don't know the actual figures so far for the media deal. Travel being one of those skepticisms, of course, but I think this is just going to be so much more as far as like expanding our footprint, especially as you mentioned over to the West Coast, get so much more exposure, especially with network television. It's going to be huge for Texas State, and we have obviously Dr. Kelly Danfus and Don Coryell to thank for this move. And I think it's just been it's going to send us to the moon. I think. I think it's going to be an excellent move for Texas State. Obviously, without its, I mean, it's going to have its detractors, of course, until we see or as we think immediate success, right? But I'm ready for it, man. I'm excited. The whole non-conference slate of football really excites me. Staying in the state of Texas, not having to travel too far, but I have to buckle the chin straps though, man. Once the Pac-12 conference season starts, because there's going to be no slouches in that conference.
Yeah, I agree. And the Sun Belt, as far as football was concerned, it wasn't an easy conference by any means, but I really look at the landscape of the Pac-12. Even when you got teams that were a little down last season, like Oregon State, they go out and get a great coach that they're bringing in. Colorado State went out and got Jim Mora, who I think that's one of the most underrated hires in the nation for Colorado State. So some of those teams that would have been towards the bottom of the Pac-12 standings last season might be contenders or, at least creeping up towards a winning record this season. So I think it's going to be a chock full schedule for the Bobcats, especially after non-conference. It's going to be a big one for the Bobcats. It's interesting you brought up the figures, the monies with the Pac-12, because we still don't really know exactly how much each team is going to get from the media share. And on top of that, we don't know what Texas State's cut of that media share is, whether it's a certain percentage or if it's deferred after a couple years and then they can start getting a media share. We don't know those specifics yet. I talked about it on the last episode of Win Now or Get Bent, but we saw Senator Maria Cantwell from Washington, and she brought up the figures 10 to 12 million when she was talking to Teresa Gould, the Pac-12 conference commissioner, and that was a number that has been floated around a little bit. When you hear that, does that make, because I know you were just saying you were a little like a little tentative with the money and travel and stuff. Does that make you feel a little better, or do you think that's just a little bit of smoke and mirrors with all this what's happening? If that's a real figure, or if that's something that Teresa Gould is putting out there, does that give you confidence for the Pac-12?
If that's the figure, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm not a math major, so I'm not sure what the exact percentage increase it is from what we were at with the Sun Belt, but that would be massive as far as the media rights deal was concerned.
And with football coming up as well, Brad Jackson, Texas State offense, we know they're going to be humming, but there's a new defensive coordinator at Texas State, Will Wyndham, coming over from South Alabama. I'm a little timid about it. I'm like, okay, this was he seems like he's got a really good pedigree and everything with his coaching resume, like the multiplicity of his defense. But this is a defense that Texas State and GJ Kinney has beaten the last 3 seasons. So I have a little bit of trepidation, but I want to be optimistic. What are your thoughts and feelings about this new defensive switch and what Texas State needs to get just not over that plus 500 hump, but actually like a true winning season contending for conference?
I'm excited for the change. Obviously, with Coach McCoy last year and the year before, after taking over for Coach Patke, he moved on to Duke. But I'm excited to see what we can do with Coach Wyndham and I mean the personnel that we have, especially the D linemen. And I think the linebacker play will improve this year with Coach Greg moving back over to linebackers, somewhere he's very familiar with, and Coach Patton taking over as far as the DBs are concerned, along with Coach Burns. And I don't know. I just think I think we can. I think we'll see some significant improvement from the defense last year to this year. I know it's early on, and we haven't seen them actually take the field, and Texas may not be the best barometer with all the talent that they have. But man, would it be something if we go down to Austin and kind of keep it close for a while there and make them a little scared? Maybe they'll look ahead to the next week against Ohio State and kind of forget about the Bobcats down in San Marcos.
Catch them sleeping. That's what they got
Yeah.
to do, And I'm so glad Texas Tech didn't steal that game like they wanted to. They're making all kinds of headlines with Sorsby. Now he's going to the supplemental draft, and they were trying to pay the Bobcats and ACU to take that first game. But I am so glad that is still in Texas State's grasp, that UT matchup. I've been looking forward to that for years. So just
Yeah.
right up the street. A lot of people don't realize how close Austin is if they haven't spent a lot of time in San Marcos. So This has been a brewing moment for me, that's for sure. I can't wait for that. I brought up Sorsby in that whole scenario. The gambling and betting on football, getting his eligibility. You got Cody Campbell threatening to sue people. Just all of that. What is your take on Sorsby? Do you think that people are just making a molehill out of a mountain out of a molehill, or do you think it was really like that big of a black mark on college football?
I mean, you had the guy, what was it, Hunter Deckers a few years ago that basically he was at Iowa State, bet on some games, and he got relegated to, I think, JUCO. I think eventually he got on somewhere professionally. I don't think it was in the NFL or anything like that, but he basically had to forfeit his NCAA career because of what he did. And I think, I mean, that whole thing back and forth with like our AG getting involved and all that stuff was just, uh, I thought I thought it was all about shut up and dribble or something. But that's another thing. But yeah, it was. I don't know. I'm just glad the saga's over. Um, I think it's the correct route that needs to happen as far as like you're betting on a game you may not necessarily be involved in, but your teammates are. So that's just can't fly.
Would you draft him in the supplemental draft?
I saw a meme today that I thought was hilarious. It's like that the meme like where the couple's walking and then there's like a girl like walking by and the guy turns around and looks at the girl walking by and it was for the Browns quarterback situation, and it had like Deshaun Watson and everything like on the girl with the guy's like name or whatever, and then it had Sorsby with a girl that's walking past, and it's just that would be something the Browns would do, I think.
Oh man, now I hadn't even thought of that. Now I need that to happen. I kind of need him to be on the Browns. Let's just because we got Shador Sanders there as well,
Yeah,
and his feud with Dylan Gabriel, the quiet feud that goes on. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson is right there, and then you add Sorsby into the mix there. Oh man, that would be fantastic. I wouldn't touch Sorsby with a 10-foot pole though. I mean, it's an important position, the quarterback.
yeah.
I feel like it's the most important position in sports, not just football, but sports in general. That as far as team sports, it's there isn't one that commands so much of the an offense than the quarterback. And if your guy is an up and up as far as his integrity and how are you supposed to trust him as a leader if you know that his integrity is compromised that much that he would bet on his own team and everything. So no, I'm very, very much against everything with Sorsby, but I'm sure somebody will take him. And I'm a Raiders fan, and it's kind of in there. They may have been the Terrell Pryor. I remember they took him in the supplemental draft. I actually
Yeah, that's
loved
true.
that one though. That was awesome. He had a 93-yard touchdown run out of the backfield as a quarterback in the NFL. It was incredible. The Terrell Pryor experiment at quarterback. Eventually switched to receiver for another team, but so it could work out. He could still maybe iron out some sort of career in after the supplemental draft, but I really just I don't see it happening. I feel like especially with the draft that's coming up in 2027, it's going to be so deep. Like why would teams want to take a flyer on
Yeah.
Sorsby? He'll probably have to move up like UFL or USFL, whatever it's called these days, and kind of go that route. But it'll be a long journey for him. Well,
Well, to borrow a tweet I saw, there is a team in the UFL that would make perfect sense for him here in Houston.
oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
if you don't know, it's the Gamblers, the Houston Gamblers. God, that's almost better. That's almost better than the Cleveland Browns. I kind of need to see that happen as well. Would you get season tickets? You're right there, right by
Just to see
Houston.
Sorsby.
Yeah.
Man, I went to one Roughnecks game back when the XFL came back, and it was the undefeated season, and then COVID happened, and honestly, spring football in Houston hasn't been the same since. Kevin Sumlin's leading the Gamblers right now, I think, which yeah,
Really? I didn't know
kind of
that.
sees how that goes. Yeah, so I've kind of forgotten most weekends when they played this year, but I don't know, man. That season with that 2020 season with the Roughnecks, man, that was something special. And then just kind of take it away from us with COVID, but kind of reminiscent of the Texas State baseball season that year too. That was a really special year for
Yeah.
for Texas State baseball. And then pulled the rug out from under everybody. So
And basketball.
yeah,
Both were looking for a conference championship that year. They were both in contention for that. Honestly, it's funny because 2020 spring football, I love the idea of it. I don't like it actually in practice. I can remember when the FCS was doing their spring football deal after COVID when Sam Houston won. Maybe that's why I don't like it because Sam Houston
oh yes,
got a
yeah, I
championship.
remember
That
that.
might, now I'm kind of working through it now as I'm verbally talking it out. I'm like, that I might be a little biased, but no, that kind of it's just not the time for football for me. I mean, it's basketball, baseball. It's just I think football belongs in the fall. It's kind of perfect where it is. So I'll feel like I'll never be able to really fall into it, really commit to it. I tried to a little bit when they were first bringing it back, but just not my bag. Uh,
Yeah,
One quarterback I know that is on the up and up. Lots of high integrity, a good guy. Brad Jackson, Texas State quarterback Brad Jackson, choosing to come back. I'm kind of switching it back to Texas State. We went off on
no, that's good. That's good.
went a little bit of a tangent. When you look at Brad Jackson and what he does, and we got to really see him for a full season last year. Whether he's got a lot of way more ups than downs. There are obviously some faults there. Sometimes he has a quick trigger, things like that. But overall, like your thoughts and feelings on Brad Jackson, young Brad Jackson, and him coming back in 2026.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with year two under Coach Keppel and Coach Kenny as far as like being the guy. Obviously, help with his decision making and things like that. Some things we've seen. He was a freshman last year. A lot of times he didn't play like it, and you could argue he was one of the most productive quarterbacks in all the nation. Something we were very blessed with and spoiled with last year for sure. I'm excited to see what this next step is for him as far as like his leadership and also his performance on the field. A lot of offseason hype. Hopefully he lives up to it all. I know he's a humble kid and he'll take it in stride. I don't see him as far as like getting a big head or anything like that. I know he's grounded in his faith, and I'm sure that will help him lead him and the guys as far as the next season is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a blessing for Texas State to get somebody in this day and age, in the NIL age, and where the transfer portal is always popping. That he's looking at this place and wants to set down roots, wants to build relationships, wants to go down as the greatest Texas State player that's ever been here. I hadn't heard that, and I wonder if some people hear that and they think that's kind of arrogant, that that's what he's trying to do. But that's something that GJ Kenny has even instilled in him, like, hey, you can be this. I just hadn't heard that from a player ever at Texas State. I really think he's in for something special. When we're talking about the next level and everything with quarterbacks like Sorsby and everything, I really think Brad Jackson, he's not the tallest quarterback and maybe doesn't have the biggest arm and measurables like that, but what he just brings upstairs mentally and just the combination what he can do with his legs, as he's way quicker than he looks. I think he has a place even at the next level as an NFL quarterback. So it'll take, pretty hard to break through when there's only 32 starting spots and a couple more spots for backups. But I think he really is that special. It's something that we've seen guys like Tyler Jones here. He was really special as well, 4-year starter. Bradley George as well. Bradley George would have been an NFL guy, but he was 26 when he was playing here. Just seeing what I'm seeing, the head that's on Brad Jackson's shoulders, I felt like was the same thing I saw out of Bradley George back in 2008, 2009. And Bradley George was an older quarterback, was older than Brad Jackson. And I just feel like the maturity of him already, it's just real special. And I'm very excited about Texas State, as long as the defense can hold on to leads. It's been a big problem in my life recently, these leads that are evaporating. I don't know if you watched the NBA finals, but it's been
I wasn't going to bring it up,
oh
but
man, it's brutal. It's tough. It's we're going through it. We're going through it in the Chardello household, but we'll power through and keep talking Bobcats. But I am very excited about Brad Jackson, that's for sure, and what Texas State can bring. Um, this season, what are your anticipations as far as like a record, or do you have high expectations after 3 years of getting above 500? Is if they do that again, is that enough, or do you think that the bar has been risen?
I think we have to have the bar raised. Obviously, I mean, it's nice to make three straight bowl games. Don't get me wrong, but that should be the standard. And I think GJ's doing a great job establishing that being the standard. But that's not the goal, if you get what I'm saying. Because like we've been in positions where we've gotten like kind of like similar to baseball. We've gotten out to hot starts and then kind of falter in the middle there. And I'm not sure if it's conditioning or what, but I mean we deal with injuries and stuff. And football is a very physical game, and that I'm sure has something to do with it. But there's always just that midseason lull, and I think if we can get past that, that's going to be huge for our tenure in the Pac-12. It'd be nice to make an opening statement. I would think, hopefully, I mean it's difficult to schedule this year. I mean, looking at the non-conference and the conference schedule, but I mean, I would feel comfortable with. We got to get over the 7 win. We got to get 8 or 9 maybe this year, and I think the schedule allows us to get to that point, and I know the guys want more than that. So, a lot of early season tests with some non-conference opponents. Obviously, Texas up front, and then you have your I-35 rivalry both ways. So it's going to be, but it's nice to see that we're playing kind of like upper echelon G6 teams, I guess is what we're calling it now, and not just like FCS teams, and we can really kind of have a measuring stick there in non-conference play before we get into like I would say a pretty tough conference slate.
And a revenge matchup against Incarnate Word. I remember 2021.
Oh man,
They came to San Marcos and won. We need some vengeance on those red birds. There's two different birds in San Antonio. I don't like either one of them, so I need it. They gave us GJ Kinney, so I'll forgive them a little bit
yeah,
for that. But
man.
JV, oh, go ahead, man.
No, I was just thinking about that game against Incarnate Word, and I know in the off season I was kind of pushing. I was like, man, we should get Cam Ward. We should get Cam Ward into San Marcos, have him take a look, and went to Incarnate Word, and I guess you could say the rest is history. I guess you could say, but yeah, that was a guy. Obviously, not a lot of offers coming out of high school based on the offense that he ran. Eric Morris took a chance, and what a chance he took! Wow. Cam Ward. I mean, I'm not a Titans fan, being here in Houston, but man, that's a scary quarterback in the AFC South. So, um, boatload of talent, and yeah, we definitely need some revenge for 2021.
I feel like I was too harsh on Spav in 2021 after that one. But Texas State, it was 2021, a year after COVID, and they had something like 25 guys
Yeah.
ineligible for that game because they tested positive. So I was pretty mad at the team and probably didn't appreciate Cam Ward and his performance and everything enough. But yeah, definitely a special player. One of the more special players that has come through San Marcos that I've gotten to see. But JB, John Beck, my guy, this was awesome. I really appreciate you making some time. We got to do this more. In fact, let's do this again this summer when we get a little closer to fall camp. We'll start talking more, gearing up about football and seeing some of the developments because it seems like these coaches they're not done adding guys from the transfer portal, so we may have more to talk about. But really appreciate you coming on, man, and talking Texas State. And you don't want to give out your burner, do you? Before we go, I was going to say if you have anything to plug, you don't have to. And if you want to keep an air of mystery, that's up to you. But if you have anything to plug, go for it, man.
Those that know. So, no, I'm gonna keep it under wraps. I mean, if you think feel free to shoot me a DM. But yeah, no, man, it was a pleasure. Thanks again for setting this up. And I just want to thank you for like all the coverage you do for Texas State. You've been doing it since the beginning, even with your podcast with Rack. Even before then, you're the godfather of this whole thing, and we greatly appreciate it, us sickos, for sure.
Oh man, too much credit. I'm having a blast doing everything I do. JV, my man, I appreciate you. You have a great night.
All right, man. You too.
All right. Thank you to John Beck, my good friend. Enjoyed that conversation. You guys like how I powered right through the Spurs topic? I didn't want to go there. They lost the finals. It's tough. Young guys, they weren't even supposed to be there. It still hurts. Still hurts when your team loses in the championship like that. I was enjoying it at the pool in Fredericksburg, Texas, for my anniversary. So that was a lot of fun. There was nobody at the pool where my wife and I were staying, and we decided to pull out the laptop and watch it next to the pool. And it was another evaporated lead for these young guys. They would get ahead. They couldn't hold on to it. You could just see the immaturity of this team. They obviously have all the talent in the world, but you gotta. It's any sport. You gotta taste blood before you taste victory. One of those type of situations, and they'll get back. But all right, that's enough. Maybe some of you who aren't Spurs fans, you enjoy hearing the this time. Some of you chirp up whenever I talk Spurs. This time you might enjoy it after a loss like that. Little hate watch for some of you out there. But shout out again to my guy John Beck. Great conversation we had. We'll definitely have him back. Make sure you check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnowergetbent. Check out our YouTube channel if you're not watching on YouTube. If you are, hello. If you're not, get on there, youtube.com/@winnowergetbent. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, like, comment, all that good stuff. You guys keep helping us grow. Every time I look at the numbers, they just continue to grow and grow and grow. And that's what we're going to try and do more this summer. That's why I said we're on a mission to get to 250. I feel like more guests. We're going to do a Tech State Mount Rushmore, Pac-12 101. We're going to get a lot of content out this summer. And it's because of you guys, the original ones, the OGs here tuning into the pod, we were able to continue to grow. Check us out on Twitter @WinNowerGetBent and on Instagram @WNOGB and Instagram and TikTok. I always forget to plug the TikTok. Like, subscribe, comment on all platforms, even if you're an audio head like myself. You're a busy person, so make sure you are subscribed. It'll auto-download right to your phone. You don't even have to worry about getting in there. Leave a nice rating, too, if you don't mind. Go ahead and get in there. Doesn't have to be 5. Some of these, they're all 5-star, and I feel like it looks fake, like we bought it. So if you wanna, help us out a little, you can give us a 4. It just makes it, makes it look a little more genuine. But thanks to TGC LLC, our great sponsor, 4th season with TGC LLC. Go check them out, thegalindocollective.com. And thank you to you sickos for always tuning in, even in these times and during the summer when content is drying up. Not so much with all these commits. Shout out to Tech State football and these coaches continuing to work on the recruiting trail, giving us nice content to talk about this summer. But either way, I know you're going to tune in no matter what we talk about, no matter who we talk to. I know you guys are always going to tune in, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It means a lot to me to keep this going and to keep our passion for the Bobcats alive. But all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, win now or get bent.